Oh yeah, it's not stuffed. It's just two questions.
No, it's not stuffed. And who knows, maybe I'll also put this in.
Maybe you also
Put this in.
No,
No, I want to answer this question first. Okay, cool. Hi guys, my name is andiswa.mojapelo and welcome to my channel if it is your very first time, and welcome back if you are joining me. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really hope that you enjoy the conversation. So the girls and I are out on a spa day retreat, and we're going to be spending the day together because, you know, one has to treat themselves once in a while. Well, not once in a while, but yeah, as much as you can afford to. So I decided randomly, let me pull up my phone and actually ask them a couple of questions because I've been planning to do a Q&A segment for you guys. And that's exactly what we're doing now. Now, they haven't heard the questions before, so they're going to be surprised. And that's because I want this conversation to be as candid as possible. There's one thing I enjoy a bit more than having financial conversations. It's hearing what other people think about finances. So to kickstart the conversation, I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. So you can get to know them and also just tell us how you know me. We can start from this side.
Hi everyone, my name is Anele and I'm at Andiswa University.
Hi, my name is Leander and I met Andiswa in high school.
Hey everyone, my name is Wandile and I met andiswa in university.
Cool. Thank you, ladies, and thank you so much for doing this. I think it's going to be really, really fun. So I'm going to kickstart the conversation with questions that are not so like serious, and then we can move on to the more controversial stuff that I'm sure all of you guys want to hear. So I didn't ask these questions on my Instagram like I usually do. I will do next time because I had just decided randomly to do this, but next time I will, and then you guys can also participate and send us your questions. And hopefully if I don't scare them off today, they'll come back and we'll have these conversations more often. Okay, first question that I'm going to ask is what is one word that you guys have that describes your current relationship with money? We can start on this side.
Whew. That's a bit of a difficult one, but I think for me it would be safe. I'd like to think my relationship with money is a very safe, conservative one because I struggle to spend money. I tend to save a lot, and now when it has to leave my bank account, then it's a struggle.
That's nice life problems. Okay, cool. I think my word is redefining. And the reason for that is because I feel like I have beliefs about money that come from my background and how I was raised, which are very similar to what Wandile has explained. Then I have things that I've learned about money at school through my studies, and then I've got things that I've learned about money in my personal experience. So with all this jumbled up together, I think I'm starting to redefine what my definition of money is and how I see money as being valuable to me. So my word is definitely redefining.
Okay, for me, I would say that I'm at an okay place with money. So my word is okay because I've managed to come to a point in my life where I've saved up. I'm like okay in the sense where I can do what I need to do whenever I need to do it. I'm at a safe place with savings. So I'd say that I've reached like a good balance.
Okay, cool.
Okay, my word would be emerging. I think, at the beginning I had a very tricky relationship with money. Also not having much responsibility per se, having been living at home and everything. So now that I'm on my own, it's dawned on me that sure, there's so many things that actually you need to do and are expected to do. So it's definitely emerging. I'm also finding myself more in a comfortable position where I'm able to make certain decisions and not regret them.
Comfortable and emerging. Okay, that's interesting. So the second question we're going to answer is, why do we find it so difficult, especially amongst friends, right? So guys, today we're speaking about money in the context of friendship, or rather a lot of the things that we're going to cover are in the context of friendship. And while I was thinking about these questions, I kind of dived into relationships as well, which I think is a topic that we should tackle on another day. A very important one that I've already opened up on the channel. I'll link the video of that conversation. I think we should tackle that again. But today I want most of the questions we cover to be in the context of friendships. So why do you guys think we are so secretive around money in our friendships? For example, we don't know how much we earn. Like, I don't know if you guys know how much you earn, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't know how much you guys are earning. I don't know, how much you're paying for your cars. And I remember that when I moved to Joburg, I actually wanted to do some research around the cost of moving to Joburg, right? And I asked some people, like, how much does it cost to pay rent and all of those things? And people were very private about how much they pay for rent and, what they spend on things. And this one guy in particular told me that if I tell you how much I pay for rent, you're going to determine my affordability, and then you're going to determine how much I earn. And I wasn't even there. Like, I was just trying to budget to move to Joburg. So why do you think we are so secretive around money and sharing costs? Anna, you can go first.
Personally, I wouldn't say for me, it's not something that I'm conscious about or think about. If you have a conversation with someone and they need advice, for example, like you had asked someone, I'm open to sharing that, but I just think, like I said, it's not something I've thought about or been conscious about to say, this is A, B, and C about me. But if someone were to ask me, I don't think I'd mind sharing. Depends who.
Okay, so you won't start the conversation.
No.
You won't put your information out there. But if someone really needs to know, then you can tell them.
Yeah.
Does that include your salary or that's out of bounds?
Out of bounds.
Okay, cool. Lee?
I think personally for me as well, it can be an open conversation. I think also because it helps other people to learn. Like, people have this big picture, and sometimes where you are at in life will help someone realize that it's okay to be there because you're going to move forward from there. So I think it could be, for me, it will be an open conversation, but I think people are secretive because they don't want you to know their lifestyle or how much they can afford and like why they do the things they do. But I think that's why people are secretive.
And before Wandile explains, it's such an interesting concept, this one for me, because I think one of the things that I realized when I joined the industry, right, the financial services, is that a person's lifestyle is so different from what they actually have. And they can be so different. But I feel like a lot of us think that if you know how much I have in the bank, you're going to determine what I should be driving. Or if you know what I drive, you're going to determine who I am. But the two is so different.
And I think that's
you find someone with like the simplest car, the simplest everything, but the bank balance. Or you find someone with like a really... And that was for me something I realized in the industry, that the two things can actually be so different. But you're right. People, it's almost like they value you and judge you based on those values. Wandile, what do you think? Why do you think we so...
I think for me, I share the same sentiments the ladies have shared, but I think also for me, people try to protect themselves from this borrowing culture.
Okay.
The moment you share how much you earn, now someone is going to calculate, okay, so then how much do you pay for your car? How much do you pay for rent? Now come month in, and they're like, oh, so you've paid for your car, you've paid for rent, so you should have this much amount of money left in your bank account. Can I have some? I'll give it to you next month. So people, we try to keep those conversations quite close to ourselves because you don't want people thinking that you have lump sums just sitting and they can use them as well. So but I think I share the same sentiments, and also that of I think we grow up a lot around people who borrow, so we then don't want to disclose how much we actually do have, because then people borrow and then the money never comes back.
Oh wow. Okay,
That's
cool.
a learning view for us.
I think it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yes.
If you think of your personal experiences, that someone is already saying, well, if you've got that much,
They're calculating your budget.
If I can also add as well, it's like for me, they say, oh, you don't have a child, you don't have that many responsibilities, And I'm just like, it's not all about kids or whatever. There's so many other things that I play.
It's like also when you get married, I'm sure people are like, well, if she had that much when she was alone, now he's there and then together. So that's an interesting one. And while we're on that topic of borrowing culture that Wandle has brought to our table, let us tackle it, right? What do you guys think about borrowing when it comes to friends? Borrowing money, that is. What are your thoughts on borrowing money? And it's a very interesting conversation because there's a lot of layers to it. Number one, do you think borrowing is a yes or a no, borrowing of money? And secondly, do you think that there should be a specific criteria before you borrow? Like there should be certain things in place, like how long you've known a person or whatever, when it comes to borrowing money. What do you think, Kanin?
So I think for me personally, also, if I've known you for quite a long time, and I know your circumstances, or I know your relationship with money as well, or from what I've seen, I think there's an element of trust there. But also personally, I tend to not even open up that space for borrowing, because I wouldn't borrow from someone else. So I think even from their side, they wouldn't maybe want to borrow from me, because it's not an open thing that I've sort of opened up as an option, if I can put it that way. But yeah, it's very tricky. It's very tricky. I don't like borrowing money. I don't like people borrowing money from me.
Thank you for being honest.
But like I said, the relationship also matters, I think.
Okay, cool. Lee?
I also do think that a relationship matters and how long you've known the person, because you need to have that relationship of trust with them so you know that what you're lending is coming back. But if it's a short-term friend, I don't think so. I am opening to borrowing. I am opening to, like, I would ask someone if I am in like an emergency situation or if I do need it. But I would also look for my closest of friends that I would ask, that I know they trust me enough. But yes, I am open to it both ways. I just think that it has to be a good long-term trustable friendship.
Okay. That's very interesting, what you guys have both mentioned, which is, I love what Anile said actually, that she doesn't open up the conversation, she doesn't put money on the table. So the borrowing is not on the table, therefore, and I find that very interesting linked to what Lee said, because in my personal experience, I find that the people closest to me that I would be ready to borrow money at any given time don't borrow money from me. And then the most random person, oh, this is going to be on my channel, the most random person will come and ask for money. And that's why I think criteria is a very important thing, because I also agree that I feel like you need to be in a specific, level of your relationship with someone before you. And I think that comes from the fact that I also really don't like borrowing money. I really don't like it, and I feel like maybe I take for granted that everybody should be in those shoes and therefore they shouldn't be comfortable, like Anile said, to borrow as well. But I tend to find that it's the people who are not closest to me who are comfortable to ask me for money. And then the people closest to me are always like, oh my God, can I make another plan? Do I have to borrow type of thing, which is an interesting context. So for me, yeah, in terms of actually answering the question, I also think it depends on where we are in the relationship and also the nature of the emergency.
Yeah. I think for me, I used to be very big on I'm okay with borrowing people money. Personally, when it comes to borrowing, I don't really borrow money that much unless it's a life and death situation and it's like, okay, I have no other choice. But I've now changed my big years. People can borrow money too. Is someone dying?
Okay.
Is me giving you this money meaning that something is gonna go completely wrong or someone is gonna die? Because what I've realized is that people then take advantage because you borrow a person once and then whether you have a close relationship with that person or whether it's someone who's just in your circle of people that you borrow the person money once and they'll return it the first time, and then a month later they come back for that same money. Can I have some more? And then it then creates that cycle where then it gets to a point where when it's time for them to pay back, you are now the one chasing them because they've gotten used to borrowing money from you that they think they can extend when they can pay for it. But yeah, I used to be a big yes, but now I'm a very skeptical, maybe not.
Because of hopefully not.
Yeah.
Hopefully not, because of past experiences. And also, like, on that point, I'm just thinking sitting here that there could be someone in the audience listening in like, oh my god, I wish I had heard this before, because then I would have just avoided the whole borrowing money altogether. And I think it can get quite tricky for a friendship, you know, in a friendship context where you're close to someone and you're used to sharing things with them, and now there's this money conversation. So from personal experience, I don't have a personal experience, but have you guys been in a situation where money was borrowed by a friend and it was not coming back? And how do you handle that if there's someone watching this and, you know, it was a friendship situation and the money didn't come back? Like, what's the best way to, or how do you handle things like that if you have handled them?
Yeah, so I can extend on that. It got to a point where this person was so comfortable with borrowing money from me that they actually called me while I was on my way to hospital. I remember it was definitely a Friday. I was on my way to hospital. I wasn't feeling well and I'm in so much pain, and I'm like, I've just walked into hospital. Can you call me back? And they're like, okay, I know you're saying you've just walked into, but can I have this much amount of money? Can you please send it to me quickly? I'm like,
sure,
no, bye.
That's hectic.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I was like, no, if you don't really care about me, then this is probably the only thing that's keeping me close to you, is that I can give you money whenever you need money. But after that, I was like, okay, I've been borrowing this person money and I was okay with it, even though at some points it got to a point where they were like, can I pay you the following month and not this month? And I was like, oh, okay, because I personally don't borrow people money from my money. And when I say my money, it's money that I'm going to use. So when you say, can I pay you the following month, it's normally okay. But then after that situation, I was like,
not again.
Not again.
Yeah, very interesting, especially because, like, now I think it's such an interesting concept as well, because sometimes people think you just say no and you can afford to, but you don't know what a person has been through or what they've walked through. And sometimes you say no because you're like, I'm not going to have this type of situation, or you're trying to prevent that type of situation from happening. Okay, cool. On a lighter, or maybe not, note, how do you guys feel about how, or rather, what is the best way that you think a bill should be handled when going out? So we are out, like I said, on a spa retreat as the ladies, and you know, we might after our spa treatment, go out for dinner or do things like that. How do you think, as friends, the bill should be handled, or what is the best way? It's such a controversial topic, and there's always like memes about it and WhatsApp messages, and we laugh about it a lot sometimes when we go out and it's time for the bill. But like, how do you guys really, from a personal perspective, think like about the bill? What is, if it was up to you? Sometimes you go out with people and they're used to doing things in a certain way, but what do you think is the best way to approach the bill situation?
Personally, I think it's I'm okay with splitting it. If there's four of us, we split it between the four of us. I don't think about the fact that, oh, she had more gin or whatever, or she had a very expensive meal. I don't really think about it that way. I just look at it as the fact that we're all out, we're all enjoying each other's company. We shouldn't complicate it by now having to look at each other and say, oh, but you had that and I had that. It just creates an awkward situation as well, I think.
Yeah, I also think it can become
now we're all looking at the bill. No,
no, I didn't have that, but I don't remember. It can get very awkward. What do you think about the bill, Lee?
Well, Anelia's elaborated, and I would also say you split equally among the people that are there.
You think it should be split? It should be split equally among them. Okay, cool. I also think so, that it should be split equally in most cases. My thing is that, though, sometimes people have different, I think as we grow up, right? So initially I was like, it should be split equally. But as we grow up, I found that we start having specific preferences and things that we like, and I started engaging with different people on this topic. And I felt like I used to say split equally because it's awkward, until I started engaging with different people, and people were like, but a person comes with their caviar and champagne taste to the table. Do you understand? And I felt like I was coming from a point of, my friends and I, when we go out, we normally have the same things. And I think we think about money the same way. I don't have a friend that goes like caviar and let me just, especially if they're not in a position to take care of it themselves. I think we're all reasonable. So I've always answered from that point. But I think with some people, where someone comes with a taste that is 3 times your budget, so would you feel the same if now someone's spending your salary on a bottle?
No.
So I just feel like I used to say equally, but I felt like it was from a point of privilege, because I'm so used to us having the same taste. But I think it can get quite complicated if there's someone who just
I think that person's gonna pay for the
They should actually own up to paying for it, honestly.
So you're saying let's not make things awkward in that case. You know what you did to the bill.
And since we're putting it out there,
You know what you did to the bills.
I'm all for splitting the bill equally amongst, depending on how many people are there or what's the occasion. But also I have this opinion of, we know the friends that we are there with. I think as we grow up, we start having different groups of friends who are not necessarily mutual. And I think we treat the bill according to the friends that we are with. Some friends, you know that you are never splitting the bill equally.
Actually.
And you know what, right? On that point, guys, there's something that Ranile said earlier. And mind you, they didn't know about these questions, but we're just having like a normal friendship conversation amongst friends. And she said that, there's friends where, like, if someone says, I'm broke, you're going to be like, okay, let's stay at home, And there's friends where if someone says, ish girl, I'm broke, you're going to be like, you know what, it's fine. Let's go, I'll handle it. But obviously it depends. It depends on what has happened in the past. It depends on how many times you say I'm broke. Like, are you saying it all the time, or is it like a once in a while where I can understand? And I think that's also a very good point. Like, it should depend on where you are. But definitely, I think if you're gonna, bring the champagne, then you should own up. Like Anele said, it shouldn't be a thing of even asking you to spread equally. You should know that this is what you did to the bill. Like I said, so you should handle it accordingly. Okay, cool. Next question I want us to tackle is, so obviously I mentioned earlier in my response that how I feel about money is a mixture of different experiences brought from a professional, personal upbringing, and all of those things. So there's always those things, looking back, where you were growing up and you always thought of this thing, especially if it's money related, as this way. But all of a sudden you get your own job, you've got your own expenses, you're paying your own rent and all of those things. And then you're just like, sure, okay, So what is the one thing that took you by surprise after you started earning your own money and like paying your own way and becoming independent? So all the ladies here are independent, so nobody's funded, we're all working and we're all paying our own bills and stuff. So what is the one thing that took you by surprise, guys? And it could be anything from like a small thing to a very complicated thing. I'll go first with this one. For me, it was how expensive cars are. Like, growing up, and my cousin and I like shared in this conversation. Growing up, so now I'm from Eastern Cape, and the Eastern Cape, if you've been to the Eastern Cape, you know what the road situation is like. So Ekaya, most people had like Rangers and like, hey, when I'm a double cab, and there were no small cars. Like, people were driving, your Legend 45s. So I thought that I used to think like a Legend 45 and a Ranger, and I thought like those cars were pretty decent because I felt like a lot of people had them, and I thought like they were trucks, and they'd be very sure. Guys, when I started looking for a car, I honestly couldn't believe how expensive cars were, and I couldn't understand how people could afford the cars that they drive if they are so expensive. So I feel like for me, when I started working, that definitely took me by surprise. It's how expensive vehicles can be, especially the
Yeah.
big ones. Somebody else can go.
Yeah. I think for me the biggest shock was finding out that there's really food at home. So
Yeah.
growing up, you go out, you go to town, and for whatever reason you're going with your parents and you ask, can I have some McDonald's? And they're like, there's food at home.
Yeah.
And then you don't understand, you throw this tantrum and you're just like, but can I have some? Can I have some? And they're like, there's food at home. Now that I'm an adult, I know there's food at home because, oh wow, guys, is food not expensive? Like groceries are expensive. And then when you look at that takeaway menu, you think, yo, I could buy my veggies for the week using this money. So let me go home.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I think for me the price of food was a big shocker, and I was just like, yeah, there's
Okay.
definitely food at home.
Okay, cool.
Definitely. For me, I would say curtains. I was actually surprised how expensive curtains were, especially if you want the very nice high-rise, yeah. You just look at them and like, oh, they're pretty. You don't really think about she's not that deep, it's just curtains.
I think we probably thought curtains came with the house when we were still.
Yeah.
I think we thought a lot of things came with the house, including like cleaning detergents and stuff like that. I think we thought a lot of things came with the house, and now when you actually have to buy them and you realize the prices, curtains are expensive, and then you want two because you want them to be like nice and neat, and yeah, it can. And Leander?
Okay, for me, it's a mommy factor. And I would say, so like I have a 6-year-old daughter. She was in creche for 3 years. And it's been like a normal flow for me. Like every year you start, it's just like a small registration fee, school fees, whatever. But it never took me by surprise. It was just a free flow for years. And this year she started grade 1, primary school. And was I shocked? Both eyeballs out. I am telling you, like everything from the start, and like we didn't get much notices on everything as well, like with the way applications were done and things like that. So I was taken aback and taken by a big surprise. It was also a very big learning lesson for me. So I have actually made a new saving strategy because of primary school now. So I think that was the biggest shocker and factor for me so far.
Yeah,
You guys
Yeah,
can
and
ask questions if
I
you like. I
definitely
can
relate.
elaborate.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can't relate, but I'm sure Wandile can. I can't relate, but you know, like when schools were opening, my husband and I were looking at, because everybody's sharing now like screenshots of fees, and because everybody, sure. I'm not even talking about the stationery that Leanna's talking about. I was like, guys, these are people's annual salaries. Like, I don't understand. And then I'm thinking to myself, but how much can you learn at school?
You really need
do you really? Because you think to yourself, like,
Guys, our kids have to go.
no, but you think to yourself, this is just a fee, like, conversation now, right? So I just thought to myself, like, you're doing ABCs. Sure, like, how deep can ABCs get to a point where it's an entire annual salary? Guys, fees are expensive.
Yeah.
You pay for them like you're paying for a bond.
Yes.
Definitely.
It's absolutely crazy. Okay, so next question, guys, is baby showers, bridal showers, everything of the sort, nappy parties, whatever it is, birthdays even. What is the best way that you think we should approach these type of gatherings? And I want to know, whose responsibility is it to plan? Whose responsibility is it to finance these type of things? Okay.
I'll go. So I think my first opinion on this is, if you want something, then I think you should pay for it. If you want a certain baby shower and no one is throwing you a surprise baby shower, then pay for it. Don't ask people to contribute, pay for it. Your birthday, if people are already bringing gifts and you inviting them to a certain restaurant, pay for it, pay for the food, pay for everything, and cap it. I understand the capping it part for drinks maybe, but I think the biggest thing is that we've now after growing up, we've now put this burden on other people that they should pay for the lifestyles that we want, and it's sometimes not in everyone's budget. Growing up, when you got invited to a birthday party, you got there with a present, and that was it. So my opinion on this is, if you want it and your friends haven't decided that we are throwing a surprise, then pay for it.
Yeah, I think I'll go next. I feel like I really like this question, and I feel like it should be tackled on a bigger platform, because guys, it moved from like bridal showers to like baby showers. How now there's birthdays. Like I feel like Wandile said, if someone didn't decide, like if it's not someone's, out of the goodness of their hearts, I think it's very unfair to expect someone to like celebrate your birthday in a way that you want to. And that last part is very important to me. Like if you have a preference and you want things done in a specific way, then I really think you should do them, because it puts people in a very compromising position where you find that as andiswa, I budget 2,000 rand for my birthday because that's all I can afford. And then you find that one day decides that she wants to go to a specific hotel for her birthday and she wants to have a dinner there. Now we must all pay to book there, and then she wants everybody to wear dresses that are this color, and everybody must have a Brazilian weave to match for the pictures. And now you find that for one day's birthday, I'm ending up spending like 6,000 rand that I don't have, because that's what she prefers, and meanwhile I can't even afford that for my birthday. So I think if you've got specific preferences, definitely budget and pay for your own birthday and invite people if you'd like to spend your birthday with other people. And again, if someone does want to gift you with that as a gift, great, but then I don't think it's fair to expect someone to do that.
I also agree. I think it's we think in a certain way, we end up imposing certain decision on people. So I agree with the ladies in the sense that, if you want a certain thing a certain way and you're very specific, especially if you're very specific, then it's unfair to expect people. You expect people to go and buy a certain bag from wherever, a certain dress for wherever. No, I definitely agree with the ladies as well.
Okay, for me, I think that, well, yes, I agree with all of them as well, with the preferences and stuff and budgeting around it. But if you have your circle of close friends, I think that the people closest to you would always want to do something for you, or they do things. Okay, coming from personal, let me speak from a personal point of view. Okay, my friends, my family, always, like, birthdays will never go not
I
being
know that.
celebrated. And it goes further. Like Andiswa, I know her from high school. I think almost every year since I've been up, I came up after her. My mom has also had her over for her birthday. So for us, we come from that background where if you are close to us, we will always do something for you. With anything that happens good in your life as well, we'll always try and do something for you. So I think it's because of personal reasons and experiences that I come from the place where I think the ones closest to you. But at the same time, I don't think you should have expectations on it. What that person can do for you is what you should appreciate coming from them. And that's where the part about, if you have your specifics, then you budget on your specifics.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that last part, again, which is why I mentioned that part as a different segment altogether. If you are particular and you have your preferences, then I really think it's fair that you just fund them. But again, if someone wants to do something for you, then by all means, because I treat that as a gift. Like, let me cook dinner for you on your birthday. Let me take you out.
Yes.
Versus I organize something and I say everybody must come, and they must come in this way. They must pay for this and they must cover that. I feel like that's a bit unfair. And it does mismanage expectations as well, especially from a budget. I know a lot of people are under pressure to then be there and buy all those things in order to perform. Now, second part of this question, right, before we move on to the next question, is I got married recently this year, and no, it was last year actually. Wow, guys, time flies. Okay. So it was actually last year, and I got married, and I decided for my own reasons that I mentioned in one of my videos. If you've been watching my videos and my series of becoming, you know why I decided not to have bridesmaids and groomsmen. But I watched a video earlier this week, and there was a debate about who should cover the expenses of their, maybe in this context, bridesmaids, right? So if I asked you guys to be my bridesmaids, honestly speaking, who do you think is responsible for the costs, like your dress, your hair, your nails, your shoes, the whole shebang? Who is responsible for those costs? Who wants to go
I'll
first?
go. I think that if my friend asked me to be her bridesmaid, she's already got a lot of costs around her wedding. You know, everything's expensive. There's a lot to do. So I think that will come from my side. And I think there's a very close relationship if I'm approached to be somebody's bridesmaid. So with that coming into play, I'm going to actually want to try and do something for you, but that's from my personal point. So I think I should cover my own expenses. And like I said, it's because I'm that close to you. I would also want to be doing something for you as well.
Okay. Cool. Other
Interesting.
views? Other views?
I don't share Leander's views.
Okay.
Not that I wouldn't want to do anything nice for my friend who's getting married, because I think there's a lot of ways we contribute to the whole running of a wedding. But I personally think if you're going to be asking me to buy a 5,000 rands dress that I'm never gonna wear again, and I have to wear to your wedding, and it's a color that I don't even like, so
It's pink and yellow, child.
excuse me. I think, again, going back to preferences, I think then you should finance that. I think things like nails and your hair, those things are costs that I think you can take on as a bridesmaid, because I think as much as someone can be specific about the hairstyles that they want at their wedding, but I don't think they'll make you look ugly. So you can still have your hairstyle for however long, and your nails and whatever. But when it comes to dresses or for shoes, you can also cover your costs for shoes. But unless you're asking me to wear gold heels, then no.
The way Wendy is responding, I feel like she's not even trying to say yes. If you're gonna get her to wear a yellow dress and gold heels, I'll go before Anita goes. So, in our instance, my husband and I felt like it was our responsibility to fund. We didn't have bridesmaids or groomsmen. We had a best man and a maid of honor, and we felt like it was our responsibility, and it was in our budget to fund everything as far as they were concerned, and that was our belief. And that's because, guys, for the same reasoning that I'm not going to repeat, I feel like it's your wedding. You want specific things in a specific way, and I'm sure you want your big day to your T, and sometimes those specific may not go hand in hand with what the person would prefer or would normally do with their income. And again, guys, I feel like as friends, one of the things that we need to realize is our pockets are not the same, right? And our affordability is not the same. But having said that, our best man and maid of honor ended up taking care of their own costs, like completely, as a gift to us because of the reason that you just mentioned. But I think we talking about whose responsibility should it be, and we felt like it was ours, and they decided out of their own accord that they're going to cover it.
Okay, I agree with the two ladies over there that it definitely should be out of your part of your budget or your planning, because yes, you do want your bridesmaids to wear specific color dresses or a specific shape of dresses, and you know it is your day at the end of the day, and you've been planning it, and so yeah, you should take over the bills. And not that I'm stingy, but like yeah, like one day they said, with certain things like your hair, you know, meet her halfway. You can do all of those things yourself.
Okay, cool. So there's like two schools
Two
of thought
ways,
depending
yeah.
on what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So last question. I'm enjoying this conversation. I don't want it to stop now. I'm thinking I should probably ask you guys 10 other questions, but we will do this again. Another last question I want to know, and this is a question that somebody actually asked me to tackle on the channel and do a video on it, and I was going to, but then I thought, since I have the girls here and I have been away with all of them, not together, all of us, but I have been away with everybody here. And I think that our travel planning as friends has gone pretty well, actually. And I've heard of some scary stories. So I'm interested to know like what everybody thinks was, the key factor for them that made it easy. Well, you can disagree with me if you think that, but in the situations I've been in, there haven't been any complications. So what do you think like made it smooth, or one thing where you feel like, okay, because of that, or I think that really helped when we were planning like getaways? So today is not a getaway, it's like a night over thing, but what do you think makes these travels or like holidays or whatever, what do you think makes them easier and less complicated?
I think what makes it easier is obviously knowing the people that you're planning with, knowing that they'll pull through, but also just knowing that you're like having options amongst yourselves, because you don't, also in terms of budget wise as well, the best thing I think is knowing each other's budgets and knowing what we're willing to go for. That's what makes it easier, I think, personally. Also just knowing the person who's planning does a great job.
Wonder who that is. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I also think the planner keeps everything intact, and I think we always speak about, is this in our budget range? Can we do this? So with bringing all those questions into it, then we know what we can do, what type of an outing we can fit in for that time. Yes.
I think for me, the biggest thing is the money talking as soon as the WhatsApp group is opened.
Not at the end.
Not
week before we book.
No,
Immediately.
Immediately we talk about the money and we start depositing the money, because I think the biggest thing that goes wrong with all these planning and you're like talking about a trip is we open a WhatsApp group and then we start talking, okay, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to see. And then you'll just keep talking, keep planning, and no one, you'll do bring up the money conversation, because obviously you'll have to pay for all these things, but no one talks about, okay, let's start putting the money in one account now. I think that's the biggest factor, because then what happens is, okay, we've now put the money into someone's account, then we can get into the finer details of what the trip is actually going to look like, and if we need to top up the money, then we top up the money. But this thing, I found that the trips that didn't work are the ones where we spoke about them on this WhatsApp group, and then the money conversation comes up, and then crickets.
And that actually happens, though. It does happen. You're right. The WhatsApp group gets formed. You speak about it and speak about it, and then when it comes to the money part, nobody comes to the party.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree with that, and I think that I'm not a fan of WhatsApp groups in as much as I plan. I prefer tackling each one of them individually. And also I've learned from planning trips with different people that sometimes people are under pressure in a group setting to be like, oh, okay, that's nice. But if I speak to Wandile like face to face, she'll be more comfortable to tell me, yeah, I'm game for that. There's no pressure of, but Anile will think I can't afford this. But what if Leander feels, I find that people are more open. So I think that's a good tip. Like whatever the ladies have mentioned. And also like if you do have a person who's planning and putting it together, rather start the conversation individually, so you know people's commitment and their level of commitment upfront. And for me, another one as well is money first, guys. Can we have a budget and then plan?
Yes.
Because like Wandile said, this thing of like, we should go to Dubai, we should go to like, and then at the end, after like, and it takes a lot of time to do research, like to find hotels, do comparisons, and all of those things. And somebody's going out to check, you're speaking to different people, only at the end to say like it's going to cost 3,000 rand each, and people are like, the same people who said we should go to Dubai. I'm like, no, this is not going to work. So I think definitely have a planner. Like they said, to rehearse what the lady said, definitely have a planner. Put money first. That should actually be the first topic. What is the budget? And then work from there and not go round and round. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me for this conversation. I enjoyed it, and I know that you guys would enjoy it as well. Thank you so much for watching the video till the end. And if you did enjoy it, don't forget to give me a huge thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do consider subscribing so I can see you in the next one. Bye.